What's up, kids? Today I'm going to face my fears and share one of my pastimes on the internet. We're going to be painting a Night Lord, by the way. This will be my second Space Marine painted ever. So this video is not a tutorial by any stretch of imagination. I'm basically coming up with steps as I go. I'm using arms and power pack from CSM Chosen. Rest of parts are resin prints. Since plastic cement does not work with resin, I've glued it together with some black CA. Unlike normal super glue, this one has a bit of flexibility, so connection won't shatter at a slightest breeze. Rest of the parts were temporarily attached with some poster putty, just to check the fit. I really like the pose of this guy. Reminds me of Horace from that one scene. I would usually leave arms as sub-assemblies for easy painting, but he has a quite open, inviting, and sociable pose, so it shouldn't be a problem. I've primed with a black primer and gave a quick zenithal with white. Hopefully this will give us some variation in the tone. Biggest mistake you could make when painting the 8th Legion is making them look like Ultramarines. So make sure to use quite a dark blue. In my case, it's going to be Abyss Blue from the 2 thin coats range. Don't ask me about ratio of thinner or flow aid. Only the dark gods know. I will be using mostly 2 thin coats paints, but if you want to follow at home and only have Citadel, then you're in luck. 2 thin coats paints just so happen to be an almost exact match to Citadel colors while being much better. So next time while hoarding paints, consider giving some cash to Duncan instead of GW.
Well, this might be something new to you, and this is for you new people out there. Everyone paints and no one quits, and if you don't thin your paints, then I'll shoot you.
Now we can subject ourselves to agony that is painting the trim. Battle Axe Brass will work great here. Perfect color for pale brass of the Night Lords. This required 2, and in some places 3 coats for opaque layer. For the most part, I'm using this garbage flat brush, but when I need precision, I switch to this nice size one from Artis Opus. We might as well finish the trim while we're at it. Wash it with thin battle mud wash, and then highlight the edges with platinum crown. Focus your efforts around edges that face upwards, and use side of a brush to get nice and clean lines. Apply a smidge of mithril blade just to make pointy bits pop. This took like 2 hours to finish, but I mean, look at the shine. Hard part is done, and oh my goodness gracious. This gunmetal from AK 3rd Gen might just be the best paint ever made. No, really. It covers so well and smooth with one, max 2 coats. I've used it for all metal doodads that are not brass.
The voices too?
I painted the undersuit Dungeonstone Gray and decided to take a detour and paint the cape. First, it was base coated with Scorched Earth mixed 50-50 with Death Reaper, and then I used less black in my mix for edges and folds. I've finished with pure Scorched Earth. I did the same on holster and straps. With hindsight, I should have used much brighter colors. Back to base coating everything that will be washed with black. Gun casing and eyes were painted with Death Reaper, wings, Legion Icon, and tabard were painted with Asmodeus Red, and bones were painted with Ivory Tusk. I thought I could get away with just painting it straight onto the blue, but this was miserable. For other bony details, I've started with Dungeonstone Gray and then applied white.
It is as though 1,000 mouths cry out in pain.
Last color before the wash was aptly named Sword Hilt Burgundy, which I've used for the hilt of the mace. Everything other than trim and leather was treated with Oblivion Black Wash, while taking care to avoid pooling. Despite my best efforts, some spots had ugly stains, which I've cleaned with original blue. Next, I've made some highlights with Evil Eye Red. You can barely see it due to my outstanding camera work, but it's there. Glistening gums was used to highlight the hilt. Bony Bits got hit with some ivory tusk, especially his skull mask. I want him to ooze personality, so that you can tell at a glance that he's a trustworthy individual. Bolter shells were picked out with AK 3rd Gen rusty brass, and I've realized that I've forgotten to wash the gun, so I did that. Next, I wanted to paint 8-pointed star on his cape, but as you can see, hubris got better of me, and I got reminded why we don't paint light colors over dark ones. I quickly changed my way and used ye old gray trick from like few minutes ago. Afterwards, the same rusty brass was used for the star. I kinda like the garish look of this color, so I left it as is. It's as if it was embroidered with a golden thread. Very ostentatious indeed. What kind of a psychopath would I be if I didn't paint some flayed skin for a Night Lord? I've started with a mix of ivory tusk and Ares flesh and washed it with some thinned flesh wash. I like my skin nice and freshly flayed, so I've added a bit of red glaze mixed with brown around the nails for that gory look. I did the same steps for the head impaled on his power pack. See these rectangles? These are Nostrum tarot cards. Originally, Night Haunter himself would give them to his most accomplished legionaries, and the cards had a prediction of the owner's death written down on them. What a guy. In the 41st millennium, these are probably just self-made trinkets, serving as a reminder of the good old times. I should get around to finishing the bolter. I couldn't even begin to conceptualize how to paint wood. So I've used a wildwood contrast paint. I've never used any of these paints before, so this was new to me. Now the fun part, we have a loyalist helmet to paint. Whom else would I choose but the Space Wolves, the lamest fucking yiff woof woof Marines out there. This was done using Cold Corpse Blue, which was later washed black and highlighted with Wolf Gray. Same colors were used for edges of the bolter. Last step before the final assembly was a quick and simple highlight of Witching Hour Blue, and I've only painted actual edges and not some insane heavy metal freehand lines on flat panels like some deranged lunatic. The time has come. I've been waiting for this moment 2 excruciating days, but finally, my silly little terrorist is whole. Lastly, he got few lightning bolts. I had a hard time finding a suitable place, so I just did 2 lightnings, one on the leg and a second one on his arm, and just like that he was done.